Good morning. I would like to call to order the March 2nd, 2023 Vision Zero Advisory Committee meeting. I'll call the roll so that we can establish a quorum. At this time, I'm only asking those VZAC members attending in person to respond by saying "here" when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. The light will turn red. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a VZAC representative. Tracy Phelps.
Here.
Bruce Rosenzweig.
Here.
Craig Pinder.
Here.
Ted Goodenough.
Here.
Joan Oliva.
Krista Bros for Joan Oliva.
Joanne Scaria. Here. Fadi Nassar. JC Beery.
Lee Lightsky for JC Berry. Here's Polly right there.
And I will note that Fadi has joined us in person. David Willick.
Here.
Jean Matthews. Here. Bruce Goyton. Michael Owens should be joining us virtually. Christian Santa Gonzalez.
Here.
Eliza Hansen.
Here.
Did I get your first name correct?
Yes.
Okay. Wabette Hay. Here. City of Delray Beach, Amy Alvarez, absent. City of West Palm Beach.
Christine Perdomo, alternate.
Thank you. Stephanie Thoburn.
Garrett Watson here for alternate.
Perfect. We do have a quorum. Chair Thoburn is absent today and Vice Chair Roach is no longer with the City of West Palm Beach. So that means we don't have a chair or vice chair today. However, per section 5(3)(d) of the TPA operating procedures, in the absence of both the chair and vice chair, the representatives present shall elect a chair pro tem to preside and complete all other duties of the chair. As such, the floor is open for nominations for the chair pro tem who will serve for the duration of this meeting. So any nominations, and you can self-nominate too. There's also a chair's copy, aka a script for you,
I'll nominate Tracy.
Tracy.
This is Ted.
I'll second a nomination.
Great.
Tracy, you want to do it? Okay.
Great. Any other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, we will move forward and we can just take a verbal vote. You can say aye if you're good with Tracy being chair.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Great. Perfect. Okay, Tracy, give us 1 second. We'll have you move over to the chair spot and I'll walk you through the chair's copy.
Okay.
Okay.
And then it basically walks you through everything that you need to see throughout. Your is blue, I'm the gray, and then black is like colored.
All right. Second.
And we are right here. So you can step, are there any other modifications to the agenda? Okay. Give me 1 second.
I gotta wear my glasses, I guess.
I'm ready.
Staff, are there any other additional modifications to the agenda?
I will note for the record that Bruce Goyton has joined us in person. And then, yes, there is, yes, Mr. Chair, the following member has requested VZAC permission to participate remotely. Michael Owens, due to ongoing staffing shortages at Palm Beach County School District, and he has joined us virtually.
Members, are there any objections to Mr. Owens participating remotely? All right. Setting none, these members are approved to participate remotely? Amanda, please note their note in the attendance in the minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right. Moving on. Are there any changes? Are there any changes to the minutes for February 2nd, 2023? If not, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
I'll make the motion.
I have David.
David
Second.
and second,
Bruce, you're too slow today.
Joanne.
Yeah, and second by Joanne Scaria.
I have a motion by David and a second by Joanne. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please say A. Opposed, say nay.
Hey.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we move on to general public comments and public comments on agenda items.
There are no public comments at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Comments? Do we have any comments from the chair or member comments? Member comments?
It looks like Ted has his. thing on.
Okay, Ted.
I just want to remind people, if you are presenting, please make sure that you describe any graphs or images on your slides for people who have called in on Zoom on their phone or are blind or low vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member comments? I have a comment. As many of you might know, City of Boca Raton, our DOT opened their first DDI in District 4 late in January. And it's working fine. It's not totally complete yet. There's still additional lanes to be added. 22, 24 hours a day, it works acceptably, efficiently. Obviously in 2 hours in the afternoon peak hour, we have some there are some congestion problems and delay problems. But to be quite honest, it's no worse than what it used to be from what I have seen. But since that's such a new procedure for this district, and we'll be seeing a new design, plus I think we might be seeing more of those up and down I-95 in the future. I just wanted to bring that up. Again, it's not supposed to be completely done until May. They'll open the additional lanes and have all the capacity that it was designed for. But it's not, it's all in, it's not it doesn't solve everything, but it's been open over a month. And the 8 to 10 hours a day I get to watch it. I just saw a first accident yesterday. So if that's only one accident a month at that intersection, then we're doing a good job. So I just wanted to bring that up. I just want to bring another thing up. DOT's been great. Them and their contractor working with us and supplying a consultant to watch and observe the interchange 5 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day. So they've been, we've had a great relationship with DOT on this project, and I hope it continues. They've been great to work with. All right, still no member comments. We will.
Oh,
Okay, Adi.
Good morning, everyone. The Glacier DI is really the first one on the East Coast in Florida. are you, city and DOT, planning to do kind of before and after studies, both operation delays and safety, maybe after a year or so? I think there's quite a few being proposed. It'd be nice to at least, I know it takes a while for traffic to adjust to it, but maybe an after study before a year from now would be extremely useful for us to understand the benefit of it.
Right. I am sure there were before studies. And DOT does have a consultant to do an after study. I'm not sure that when the after study is supposed to be done. I think it's actually before a year. But we will. I know City of Boca will be watching it and yearly and be doing studies on it to assure that it's still working and it's working properly. The safety is a very important aspect because, you know, DDI really it makes it safer. It really doesn't make the travel time better to get through. The delays less, but it does make it safer. So safety is definitely an issue. We're going to be watching it. And as I said, that's what I've been watching when I'm watching it. Yeah, because we have a consultant and watching the actual operation of it. And I'm not saying there's been other accidents, but I know just the time I watched it yesterday, there was a rear end accident. And that was the first accident I've seen in a month. Usually we have an accident, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 a day at that interchange. So, but yes, there's plans by DOT to do after studies. And City of Boca will also, as you know, Naresh is very good at those things. So we'll definitely be doing studies to keep up. And we'll be available to those next in line to receive this type of design, which I'm sure Palm Beach County will be at some point. We'll be available to give any assistance that we can. Anybody else? Okay, Bruce.
Could you just define what the acronym DDI stands for?
Divergent diming interchange. I'm not sure that of the count. I think there's one in Miami, maybe 2. And then this one and this one that just opened, that's the only ones I know of down here in South Florida. The first one was in Sarasota. Maybe 6 years ago. I know I worked on it at my last job. I worked on that project. And then the District 5, I know did a couple of them. I've been told maybe there's 9 in the state, plus or minus 1 or 2. But it's an alternative that a lot of the DOT and other agencies are considering for interchanges. Any other comments, David?
Yeah, I just wanted to say Miami actually has 2 and Broward has 1 under construction right now. And I think Martin County has 1 coming. St. Lucie County has 1 coming, and we have 4 more coming in Palm Beach County. So,
okay. All right, that's good to know. I know Palm Beach County was not Palm Beach. Broward was supposed to maybe get 1 on every interchange off the Sawgrass Expressway, but I don't know where that went. That was 5 years ago or so. I seen a presentation on that. I thank you for the information. Anybody else? If no other comments, we will move on. Next is the Vision Zero Action Committee Liaisons Report. Valentina to provide an update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to welcome our new members for the committee. So welcome Eliza Hansen with the Village of Palm Springs. Welcome Lee Lietz,
Lights.
excuse me, okay, yes, with Palm Beach County ERM. Nell Chapman, serving as the alternate for Boca Raton Bicycle Club, and Christine Perdomo with the City of West Palm Beach, serving as the alternate. So welcome to you all. It's a pleasure to have you serve in our committee. So first item in our agenda, Safe Streets Summit Complete Streets Awards. If you had the chance to attend the Safe Streets Summit, we had a couple winners. So the congratulations to the Village of Wellington for receiving the Complete Streets Community Award, and to Natalie Crowley with the City of Palm Beach Gardens for receiving the Complete Streets Champion Award for Palm Beach County. And you can view the rest of the attendees or the nominees on the safestreetsummit.org website. I'd like to extend the congratulations to the City of Westlake for adopting a complete streets policy, and that makes the fifth municipality within our county to adopt a complete streets policy. So congratulations to them. There would be a public meeting for I-95 at Woolbright Road for the I-95 at Woolbright Road interchange. If you would like to attend to provide any comments or any questions you have for that project, you can visit the d4fdot.com website for more information. Next, the AARP Community Challenge. There's a grant available until March 15th to apply for a community challenge grant. This grant is usually available every year. I do encourage everyone to try and apply for that. It's for quick build or tactical urbanism projects. So it's a good opportunity. Next, the TPA Public Participation Plan, which Melissa will touch on later this morning. It's available for public review and feedback through March 16th. So to provide your comments, you can visit our website. As you all know, March is Florida Bicycle Month. In celebration of Florida Bicycle Month, we will be hosting some activities and events. Our first event will be hosting a webinar on safe bicycling March 7th, and our group bike ride March 31st. To attend for those events, you can visit our website at palmbeachtpa.org/events. Also, I do encourage everyone to adopt a proclamation if your municipality has not done so already. I know that some of you have some in progress, so thank you for that. The town of Juno Beach adopted a proclamation, and last night, the town of Lake Park adopted a proclamation. I have it here so you can all see. So highly encourage everyone to adopt a proclamation. Next, in addition to those events for Florida Bicycle Month, we will also be hosting a Complete Streets workshop and a Vision Zero workshop in April. So the Complete Streets workshop that will be in March, Vision Zero workshop in April. For more information and to register, you can visit our website. The Complete Streets workshop, if you don't know, the Palm Beach TPA, we have a complete streets policy model that municipalities can use to adopt a complete streets policy within their jurisdiction. We will be going over our newly updated complete streets design guideline and how you can all use our newly updated guidelines to incorporate complete streets elements within your jurisdiction. So highly encourage everyone to attend. Next, Royal Palm Beach will be hosting a bike rodeo in celebration of Florida Bicycle Month. For more information, you can visit their website at royalpalmbeach.org or .com. There's also a flyer on your desk with more information. The TPA will also be holding a mobile tour with Palmtran and Tri-Rail on April 7th. We recently just held a mobile tour with the newly integrated Boca Raton Brightline station. So looking forward to that. In addition, we will also be having the TPA Governing Board meeting as per usual, March 16th at 9 a.m. for this month. Additionally, the TPA will be, or the United States Department of Transportation will perform a required certification review of the TPA. This happens every 4 years. So if you would like to attend, you can do so on April 3rd. And for more information, I believe it's posted on our website. In addition to that, on the back of the liaison report, you will see the list of all of the applications that we got for the local initiatives program, transportation alternatives program, and state road modifications program. This is all of these applications that we received. They have not been scored and ranked. As you all know, since you serve in this committee, you will have the opportunity to score and rank the applications received for the transportation alternatives program in the April meeting. So these applications have not been scored or ranked. They're just in current alphabetical order. So that concludes my liaison report.
Thank you. Staff, or any public comments on this item?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any committee members with any comments or questions on the liaisons report? Ted.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say, you mentioned the TPA website, and I know it was at least partially newly launched, and it is about 75% more accessible than the previous one, and I appreciate all of the efforts that went into that.
Thank you, Ted. Our public relations staff worked really hard on the website, so thank you.
Jean.
I'm looking at the list. How much money is available in each of the categories for starting with local initiative?
How much is available?
Yes,
So,
I see what the requests are.
right, so typically for local initiatives, $20 million. What has been requested so far, it's 17.7 million.
So we have plenty of money to fund everything on that project list.
Yeah,
Good morning, Brian Ruscher, Deputy Director of Multimodal here at CPA. So I'll just try to create a little bit of a distinction between the funding programs as well. Transportation alternatives is really the only grant funding program that TPA has the ability to prioritize and actually direct funds towards those projects. The local initiatives and state road modifications program, as a reminder, is a TPA funding program. We rank those projects. We give direction to FDOT to prioritize money. However, it's not a guaranteed funding allocation for those projects. Those projects do compete with funds for other important projects that the state has identified. So as a reminder, local initiatives and state road modifications are not necessarily a grant program. Transportation alternatives, which this committee does oversee the ranking and make a recommendation to the board to consider, is a grant funded program that all metropolitan areas receive some funding allocation for.
How much is available for transportation alternatives?
5.1 million,
Say that again?
5.1 million.
Okay. And when you said the 28 million, there's more projects than just the blue ones that would be competing for that funding.
Correct. And the way that this works is we have our list of priority projects. You can learn more about what all of the projects are. We have, I think, well over 100 projects in our list of priority projects. We have to first fund the priorities that have been prioritized many years ago. We have to ensure that those projects receive the funding so that they can get completed and work through the work program. It's not a guarantee that we can always fund the projects that are coming in through local initiatives and state road modifications in the immediate 5th year out. So don't take it as like we have $28 million, which is necessarily play money that the TPA can give to local municipalities. This is something where you can get into our transportation improvement program and into our list of priority projects However, it's not necessarily guaranteed that you will receive money in the new fifth year as it's programmed.
Well, but you know what, with the green, the transportation alternative, if we have 5.1 million and there's just basically over 5.1 million in requests, we're like $11,000 short of funding everybody fully. That's really nice news.
And I'll just say that with that as well, there are other funding pots that could potentially supplement if there are some gaps in those projects as well from the Department of Transportation that could help close those, small gaps.
So we could come up
And-
with the 11,000, everybody could go home happy.
I would think that if a municipality can close a $11,000 gap, then they probably would take the transportation alternatives rather than having the project not funded. And then just lastly, we do have direct prioritization authority over the surface transportation block grant funds. And that's really a prioritization measure. So it's something where we work with DOT to ensure that projects get funded as much as we can through that program.
Okay, and then how much is the one in red state road modifications is a different pot of money again, or it's part of the 28?
It's a different pot of money it's the same pot of money for the 28 million. So that's typically, I believe, about 28 million is what is projected, but it's separate from transportation alternatives. Transportation alternatives is a protected program that the federal government puts down to each state. And from that 28 million, we create both the local initiatives and the state road modifications program.
Very exciting because it's been like 3.2, 3.6 to get to 5.1. Good news. Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay, I have a question. For the bike ride, bikes will be available like last year?
Could you, I could not hear
For
you,
the
I'm sorry.
bike ride, March 31st, will
Mhm.
bikes be available? You don't have to bring your,
No, you do have to bring your own bike, but as you know, Brightline has the Bright bikes that are, you could rent it if you don't have a bike, so.
okay.
Yep.
Any others? All right. Moving on to the next, to action items. Motion to elect vice chair. I've been with this committee for 2 years and John Roach was here, I'm pretty sure was here before me. So I'm not sure how long he's been here, but he was here, but he was always very always had opinions, always had ideas. He was excellent resource on this committee. And although his time as vice chair was short, we appreciate it, and he really did a good job, great jobs when stepping in and when Stephanie was not here. We appreciate his service and wish him luck wherever it is he's going to for his next adventure. Pursuant, I must put my glasses on, pursuant to section 4.3.b of the TPA's operating procedures, the officers shall be elected annually at the last regularly scheduled meeting of the calendar year. Additional elections may be held as necessary if an officer cannot carry out their duties and complete the remainder of the appointed term. So staff, do we have any public comments on this item?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
All right, I would like to open the floor to nominations for vice chair. Anybody have a nomination for vice chair?
Yes, I vote Joanne. I recommend Joanne from the city of Palm Beach Gardens.
Yeah, okay, we have a nomination for Joanne from Palm Beach City Gardens by Jean and a second by, who was the second? Bruce. Okay, any other nominations?
I accept, but I would also like to nominate Tracy.
I hear no second, so that nomination has been refused.
I was about to second. Can you refuse before we do that?
I have no problem with it. But so if you want to, then that's fine. With
We
me,
can go to a vote on it if there are no other nominations.
okay. So Joanne has nominated Tracy Phelps. And Ted has seconded, so we have two nominations. Any other nominations? All right, I closed the nominations, so I guess we call for a hand vote for each nominee.
Yes, we can start, actually, what I might do, just so it's easier for me to record, if you all don't mind, I might just go around and read each of your names and you can tell me which one you're voting for, and then we'll tally it if that works for everyone. Okay.
That's great.
Alrighty, and okay, Tracy,
Me,
Bruce Rosenzweig,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the lady.
Joanne,
Joanne.
Craig, Pinder,
Joanne.
Ted, Tracy, okay. Chris, Chris Stavros,
Tracy.
Joanne,
Tracy.
Body,
Joanne.
Lee,
Tracy.
bless you. David.
Tracy,
Jean,
Joanne.
Bruce Guyton, Michael Owens,
Well, if Joanne's going for Tracy, I'll go for Tracy too.
Christian,
Joanne.
Eliza,
Tracy.
Amy is absent, Christine,
Tracy.
and Garrett.
All right, I'll go with Tracy, if Joanne's going for Tracy.
So we did have 10 votes for Tracy and 6 votes for Joanne. So Tracy does win. Okay. Tracy, you'll probably see at the bottom of your chair's copy, we'll put you in, you have a motion to elect you as vice chair, and then that motion was made by Joanne and seconded by Ted. Perfect. Great.
do I have to read that? Since you just read it?
Nope,
Okay,
you don't need to
okay.
read it. Sorry.
All right. All right, that business is out of the way. That was close. Thought we are gonna have to have a recount or a runoff or something there. Thank you. Thanks, Joanne, for volunteering. All right, next item, a motion to recommend approval of TPA's public participation plan PPP update.
Gotta tell you about it first.
I invite Melissa Murray, TPA Public Relations Director, to present the item.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Murray. I'm the Public Relations Director here at the TPA. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about our 2023 draft public participation plan. This is something that we update every few years. And essentially what it does is guide how we engage the public, how we get public feedback for all of our transportation planning documents and things like that here at the TPA. So I'm going to go into just a couple sections about the purpose of the document, any changes that we've made from our last update, which was in 2020, and then how we kind of track and monitor all of this. So the purpose of the public participation plan is to essentially show how we can encourage public awareness of the work that we do, gather input in the transportation planning process and the project prioritization process. So there's a couple sections to the PPP. The first one, really important one, talks about our public comment periods and official notice periods for our planning documents. So that goes into information about when we need to notify the public about any updates, amendments, new documents for the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, the LRTP, the Long Range Transportation Program, and the UPWP, the Unified Planning Work Program. And then the PPP is also included in those required work products. It also talks about how you can get involved with the TPA, whether you're serving on a committee, attending events, sharing information, giving feedback about our planning process, and then also talks about how we reach out to the public and how we track how we're doing. So here's just a brief look at the schedule for the public participation plan update for 2023. We have a 45-day public comment period, which is longer than any of our planning documents or required work products. They're usually about 30 days, but this one is 45 days. So we opened this for public review on January 30th. We're presenting to committees today and presented to our other committees yesterday. And then we'll be presenting to our governing board later this month on March 16th. And if that's approved, we'll be adopting it that day as well. We've shared public notices about the public participation plan, like I mentioned at our committee meetings, and we'll be talking with our board, but also on social media, in our biweekly newsletter, sharing it in person with our partners, and also gathering comments on our website. We've gotten some feedback that way already, which has been great. And we'll be including all of those comments as an appendix in the final adopted document. So here's a brief overview of some of the updates we've made to our 2023 public participation plan. As Ted mentioned, we redesigned our website recently, and one of the main focuses for us was greater ADA accessibility. Also, as Ted mentioned, there's still progress that can be made there, but we're very grateful to Ted for helping us with that. He sat with us in person and over Zoom many times to go through several iterations of the website and make sure that he's able to use it and that it is working well for him. He's able to open documents and go to new pages and scroll down on the homepage and all of that stuff. So we really appreciate his help with that. We also have a section on our deliverables in the PPP. So basically explaining what we do and what we give to the public in order to inform them about the work we do. So our newsletters, we are putting out more media advisories and press releases, which I'll explain a little bit more in a minute. All of the print materials that we share, sometimes they'll be with you on the dais during meetings. Any graphics we're creating, we're trying to do a lot more photography and videography with our work as well. So there's a lot of different things we do to educate people about transportation planning. We use our website, of course, and our 4 social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as our YouTube channel for meetings and any events and workshops we hold. And then we also put a couple of pages in about how we track all of this, how we measure what we're doing and if we're doing a good job. And I'll explain those numbers on my next slide. There is a list of transportation planning acronyms in the back of the PPP. We went through all of those. There's quite a few of them, and revised those, took out ones that were maybe a little outdated, added some in that we were missing. And then the limited English proficiency plan is a separate document that we have here at the TPA, but it's included as an appendix in the PPP. So we updated that with the most up-to-date census information about populations who speak a limited amount of English. So that helps us to understand in Palm Beach County what populations we need to be reaching out to as we're doing any planning studies or any outreach events. Just kind of keeping in mind the diversity here in Palm Beach County. So when it comes to tracking, we've had a couple questions that have come back to us as we've put the PPP online for public review about how we do this and why the specific tracking numbers are not included in that document. And the reason is we track them every single month in several ways. And really the PPP is a guidebook for what we do, but not necessarily a report on how we're doing. So the report comes in here. So every month I put together a public involvement activity report, and those are shared in the agenda backup with our governing board as well as the CAC. So if you're ever interested in looking at those, you can find those there. There's one for every month. So it's split up into basically two sections. On the screen, there is a screenshot of the January public involvement activity report. The top left is a bar graph that shows our social media impressions, and it's really small, so you don't need to look at any numbers or anything like that. But essentially, this is just to show you that we are tracking our social media impressions every single month. So how many people are seeing things that we're posting on social media? And the bottom left corner is a graph of our social media followers. Again, you don't need to see the numbers, but just to show you that we are tracking that. We've actually surpassed our goal for this fiscal year. We will likely double what our goal was. So we're really excited about that. And this is important to take a look at every month, because the more people who are following us and the more impressions we have on social media, the more people can get involved with what we're doing here at the TPA and with our partners as well. And then on the right side of the PIAR report is our media coverage for that month. So we're tracking how many times our TV stations, radio stations, print publications, online social media sources running stories about the work that the TPA is doing. We've made an effort to really get out and make relationships with our media partners so that they can share information about what we do. They were very helpful during the Okeechobee study, and we're really going to be trying to get them to help us out with the LRTP, which Nathan will be talking about in a couple minutes. The more people that we can partner with in the media, the more people can see what we're doing. We can ask people to come to a public meeting, but I think all of you know that that gets limited participation. So if you share something with one of the media partners, they can get it out in front of tens of thousands of people, if not more, by running a story just one time. So we're really trying to increase that media coverage every year. We put together a strategic plan every year and then an annual report to summarize how we've done for the year. The first goal of our strategic plan is always to engage the public. So we are coming up with different goals every year of how to do that. That does include, like I mentioned, our social media impressions and followers, as well as media coverage, but it also includes conducting outreach events and campaigns. How many presentations are we doing to partner agencies and groups to explain what we do as the TPA, so we can educate more people about our work and then hopefully get them involved as well. We're, of course, required to do monthly reporting for our UPWP. That does include a lot of this information as well. A little bit more in depth, we're sharing that with FDOT every month, so that keeps us accountable. And then we can track our website as well. So how many people are on our website either at any given time throughout the month, over the past 6 months? What are the most visited pages? And then, of course, keeping track of our public comment forms that we have on our website and making sure we're responding to any questions that people have, whether that's about a project, how they can get involved, or anything else that they might need to know about the TPA. So that is just a brief overview of the public participation plan. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it is on our website if you want to just dive a little bit deeper into it. But that's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Melissa. Staff, are there any public comments for this item?
Sorry, not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any committee comments? Committee members have any comments? Ted?
Not to dwell on the website, but when I started with this committee, I don't know, 3 years back, and I tried to find the agendas on the website, it was a daunting task. And the world has a guideline that's graded at 3 levels: A, AA, and AAA. And the TPA website has gone from an A to a AAA, and there aren't many that can achieve that. Doesn't mean everything's perfect, but I work. I was at my job. I took my dog out to relieve. We came back. I had 5 minutes left. I said, well, I'll see if I can get to the agenda. opened the email, clicked the link, was at the agenda, was able to read it and finish before my break was over. So kudos on the job done.
Thank you, Ted. And it really wouldn't be possible without all of your help. And every time we ask you to do another meeting to help us, we really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Craig.
Hi, my question is in regards to social media. You shared that your impressions are increasing. So with social media, it typically reaches or it can reach a very broad audience. So I'm wondering, are your impressions reaching your targeted audience and your targeted demographic? And if you have any idea of what that demographic makeup is, are you reaching the older audience? Are you reaching the younger audience or the in between?
Yeah, great question. So generally speaking, we are reaching a younger audience or middle-aged audience. However, sometimes depending on what the content is, we specifically target certain audiences. So usually not so much based on age, but more based on location. So for example, with the Okeechobee study, we targeted multiple times people who are along that corridor from downtown West Palm Beach to Okeechobee and State Road 7, and then down to the Wellington Mall. Whenever we had a public meeting or a survey to really try and get those people who are in that area involved in giving us feedback and what we're doing. We also, I believe for the PPP, when we posted about that, we were targeting specifically Palm Beach County, because sometimes it can have such a broad reach. It can be shared. People can see it in like Miami-Dade County or Martin County, and we'll welcome the feedback, but we're really trying to get feedback from people here in Palm Beach County. So yes, we are taking a look at that and trying to hone in on our target audiences.
And just one more, there are different medias that you can use, right? So which media format is the best way to reach people? Or is it pictures? Is it videos? Which ones do you guys see the most success with?
So photos usually do pretty well. Sometimes sharing, usually when we share articles, like news articles that the TPA is featured in, those typically do well too. Videos are kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they do well and sometimes they don't. There's also the challenge of changing algorithms on social media. So something that you post today might not necessarily do well in a month. So that can be a little challenging, but we try to keep up with that as much as we can. Graphics usually don't do as well, but people love photos, especially when you share a lot of them. We try to take as many photos as we can during TPA events to show people who weren't there kind of what we were doing and how it went. So those usually do pretty well, but we're always trying new things to see what works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bruce. Do you actually send out snail mail flyers to the general population to let them know that here's this resource that they can tap into? Because it's, I mean, you have the websites up, you have your social media accounts and stuff, but that's there if people are curious and want to look in. But perhaps a flyer, flyers out to the people who go would sort of develop their interest. I live in a condo on A1A. I'm on the board and people come to me and they see me cycling and they go, well, what's the story? What are you guys allowed to do? What's the law with this? And I direct them to, those particular sections of, TPA on the TPA website. But apparently there's nothing that's come to them as opposed to them having to go research.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So myself personally, I have distributed flyers in person to certain populations for events and meetings that we're doing. However, we don't really just mail things out to people right now. I think part of that just has to do with we're trying to be as digital as we can and save paper. But if there is any specific population or group that you feel like would benefit from receiving some of that paper material, we're happy to send that out. We do also, one of the reasons we share with you at meetings whenever we print like our resources brochures or a flyer for an upcoming event, anything like that, that we will put at your seat for meetings. the hope is that you will share that information with anyone who might be interested. And if you're interested in getting more copies of that, we can also share that with you as well. We'd be happy to give that to you.
Eliza?
Could you elaborate on how you're establishing your targets? What benchmarks are you using and who are you comparing our county to? Other counties in Florida or other counties across the United States?
Yeah, so I'll answer the second part first. One thing that's nice about Facebook, for example, is you can go into your tracking methods and it automatically compares you to it basically identifies pages that are similar to yours. So we can compare ourselves to Palm Beach County, to the Broward MPO, to the Miami-Dade TPO and see how many followers do they have? What was the best post they recently had? So we can kind of look at that and say, oh, that's cool. Maybe we should try something like that. That's been really helpful. We also, even just following on other channels, can see what other MPOs are doing, what is working well for them. Are they tagging any partners that maybe we should reach out to? So that's kind of how we identify things that are working well. And then what was the first part of your question?
Where are we establishing benchmarks? Like, are we going out and pulling KPIs from other transportation planning agencies?
Sure. So about a little less than 2 years ago, when I started here at the TPA and Cassidy as well, we were looking at our strategic plan of trying to figure that out. How do we establish like what numbers we want for social media, followers and impressions, as well as media coverage? We had already kind of had numbers for community presentations and things like that previously they had done at the TPA, and we're either trying to build off of that or maintain that so that we're not overburdening ourselves, but also kind of keeping an eye on that. So those numbers had already sort of been identified. But social media, Cassidy and I really sat down and kind of looked at where we were at the time. How many followers did we have? What were our impressions like? Looking back to, I think it was like maybe early 2020, and seeing what is manageable in terms of what can we accomplish over the next 12 months. Looking at other partners and seeing how many followers do they have? How often are they posting? How many likes do those posts get? Those types of things. And that really went into developing the numbers that we have today in our strategic plan. And as those algorithms change, that can really impact impressions from month to month. It could impact followers and things like that. So it is something that you do have to keep an eye on every month, but mainly it was looking at our partners and then also looking at past performance here at the TPA to see how much work we had to do to get where we wanted to be.
Bruce?
I would like to piggyback on my namesake, Bruce, what he said. The mailers, I do know that there's still generational gaps. Gen Z, millennial, social media. Baby boomers and up, maybe not so much. So I was thinking if we can target certain generations with different type of advertisement, I think that would be very effective because there are a lot of people, baby boomers and older, that they still don't do the social media as much as the younger do. So that's an idea.
Yeah, thank you. And I would also look to all of you, if you would help us out to identify any specific groups that you feel like would benefit from all of this, whether it's your municipality, whether it's a club you're involved in. We do, one of the examples I was talking about with actually going in person and sharing flyers was with Palm Tran for our LCB meetings that we had last year and trying to get people to come to that. But yes, absolutely. If you all have any specific suggestions, that would be great. And then that's definitely something we can consider for the partnerships we already have established.
Organizations to target too.
Thank you. Bruce, Bonnie?
You know, what you do is very important. I think public information and public participation is really important to what we're doing. I mean, I believe to get some kind of feedback from places like Facebook, you probably should have a budget for that. Are you allowed to have a budget, for example, to have independent reporter write on something that interests you or something you want them to highlight? Or is something not acceptable?
Yes, we do have a budget to boost posts on social media. We did that several times with the Okeechobee study. I think we did it with the public participation plan. And usually we're reserving that budget for things that we're trying to get a lot of people involved in, or at least to see, hopefully click on and review. We don't do that every month because we do have a limited budget, but it is something that we are able to do from time to time.
So is it okay for you to kind of hire an independent reporter to write on something, or that would be kind of crossing the line?
Probably not. I think Cassidy and I try to do a lot on our own. And that's why we're also trying to work with our media partners as well, because that's free coverage. So if they run a story, we don't have to pay for that at all, except our time to do the interview. So as far as like advertisements and things like that go, we actually do have a limit as an MPO for how much money we can put into something like that. I think it's like only a couple $1,000s, which doesn't really get you very far, unfortunately, in advertising. So we are a little bit limited in that way. So we try to use social media as a way to push things out to more people in the public.
Thank you. Ted, you have another question?
Yeah, it's more a comment on the paper flyers and that sort of thing. I think if you were going to target maybe the 55 and over communities in our county would be a good target. I would recommend putting a QR code on any flyer that went out, because paper for me, unless it has a QR code, is I do have apps that can convert it to voice, but more an environmentalist and don't recommend paper. I think that if people are interested in something, they will go out and search for it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I just have one comment on the website. I really appreciate the things you have on the website to help through the process of doing these TPA funding applications. Although I'm working traffic engineering, since I have some planning background, I usually get volunteered to do these applications, and there's a lot of work that goes into them. And the information on your website was very helpful in getting all the information required and all you need to do to submit one of these applications. So I appreciate that very much. I'm sure everybody else does also, who applies for these applications. All right, Jean.
Are the grant applications available for us to review before our April meeting? And can we hear presentations of them, even if there's enough funding to fund them all, so that we're aware?
So at the April meeting, you will be hearing all of the transportation alternatives project presentations. I will be conducting the presentation. However, the applicants will be available to take any questions that the committee members might have. And what was your other question?
I like to see the grant applications. I've been scoring these things for years and I drive them. So if I can get access to them to review them before the meeting, it's helpful.
Sure. I will get that question to Brian. As Brian is saying, just so it's on the record, we'll distribute the grant applications with the agenda a week prior. I'm not sure that staff would have time to compile everything further ahead of that, but you should have it at least a week in advance of the meeting.
Yeah, if we have them a week, it'll give us time to review and the weekend to drive it.
So to confirm, you would like to review the applications for all 3 river funding programs?
No, just that.
Oh, just TA?
Just TA.
Okay. Sure.
All right, thank you for all the comments and thank you for the excellent presentation. I need a motion to recommend approval of the TPA's PPP. So I can open the floor for discussion, which I think we already
I'll
had.
second the motion.
Okay, Bruce
And Christian.
and Christian.
Bruce G.
Bruce G. Hearing no further discussion, I have a motion by Bruce G and a second by Christian. All in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye.
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 Aye, opposed, say nay. All right, the motion passes.
Mr. Chair, we are at about 10 a.m. and I did want to notify you that item 3B, the helmet fitting certification training, will take approximately 1 hour. Given the time, I would like to see if you and the committee would be interested in deferring the TPA Vision 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan item to the April meeting for, again, as an information item.
Does anybody have an issue with deferring the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan informational item to the next month?
Perfect. We will,
Okay.
staff will bring that back to you all in April as an information item again.
Or it could even go to May.
Okay.
Because-
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Because we got all those applications to score.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the item 3A has been moved to April or May. Being that, we move to informational item B, which is Safe Kids Palm Beach County Helmet Fitting Certification Training. Catherine Wall, Safe Kids PBC Coalition Coordinator, to present this item.
Yes. Good morning. Hi, Kathy Wall with Safe Kids Palm Beach County. I just want to say how much we appreciate working with the TPA. Been a great partner. So really also thankful that you guys are interested in being certified helmet fitters. Did you know you were? You are. So in the interest of time, this is not rocket science. You've got this and we're going to walk you through it. But we are Safe Kids Palm Beach County. We are a program of community partners of South Florida, and we are funded by the Children's Services Council. So Safe Kids, we talk about safety at home, safety at play, and safety on the way. We also do safety around the water. Probably our largest program in Palm Beach County is our car seat, our affordable car seat program. Last year, we distributed close to 700 car seats to families and caregivers. But our pedestrian safety and our bike safety program is also very near and dear to our hearts, and we really appreciate partnering with the TPA on this. So today we're going to talk a little bit about bike injury facts, bike safety education, and the ultimate is the bike helmet fitting techniques and recommendations. So these are just some facts. I don't necessarily need to read to you, but we do know that we do have bicyclist deaths in Florida and Palm Beach County. We definitely have multiple injuries that also happens there. We do know that 62% of bicyclist fatalities in 19 were not wearing helmets. So if we can get these helmets out and more importantly, get them on the heads, particularly of our young kids, start them off young, wearing their helmets when they first start riding through their adults would be very important. The number one killer of people is unintentional injuries. So nobody intends in having a bike accident or a bike wreck, but it happens. Non-helmeted riders are more likely to be involved in a fatal crash than helmeted riders. Males are more likely to be injured or killed on bicycles than females. And most bicyclist deaths occur in urban areas and at non-intersection locations. So what happens, we used to talk a lot about concussions. We talk now about traumatic brain injury as the major cause of death and disability in the United States, contributing to about 30% of all injury deaths. So traumatic brain injury, or TBI, presents in different ways, but that can definitely be prevented. Any bicyclist who does not wear a bike helmet has increased risk for head injury. Wearing a properly fitted helmet every time you ride a bicycle is the most important prevention method. And while there's no concussion-proof helmet, a helmet can help protect from a serious brain or head injury. Even with a helmet, it's important to avoid hits to the head. So we know a helmet isn't 100%, but it's certainly going to help. So there's no cure for a brain injury. It talks about, a healthy brain. There's concentration, problem solving, speech. With traumatic brain injury, there may be lack of focus and irritability or language difficulty. Also affects the vision, also affects in the temporal area, the memory, your memory. So if there's a traumatic brain injury, there may be problems with short or long-term memory. You may also see difficulty in walking or a slurred speech. And the most traumatic of all would be changes in breath or difficulty swallowing. So there's varying ranges of traumatic brain injury that can happen, particularly if you're not wearing your helmet. So injuries and deaths can be prevented using bicycle helmets. So there's a key theme here, right? Bicycle helmet laws for children, activating lighting and rider visibility, roadway engineering and measures, which is so much of what you all do here. So children are more likely to die from a motor vehicle related crashes at non-intersection locations during the months of May through August. So maybe because they're out of school and they're out just roaming the streets. And also we look at the time period between 3 and 6 p.m. Children age 14 and under are 4 times more likely to be injured riding bike riding than in non-daylight hours. So that dusk to dawn. Most bicyclist deaths occur in urban areas and again at non-intersection location. The typical bicycle motor vehicle crash occurs within 1 mile of the bicyclist's home, and children under the age of 5 are more likely to be injured in or around the home, particularly in driveways. And we have a lot with backover injuries as well. So there's increased risk. Definitely there's is a collision with a car, there's going to be an increase in severity or of the injury, probability of head or brain injury, and the worst would be death. So these are just some statistics. We know that bicyclist fatalities in this age, in this time range up to 2019, and I apologize, these aren't more updated. This presentation is actually out of the University of Florida. And that coordinates the Ped Bike Center for us. And they release a new training video PowerPoint for us every 2 years. But we do know that of the 156 fatalities in 2018, 13 of the bicyclists were wearing a helmet. So we talked about the traumatic brain injury, and bicycle fatalities related to TBI was the 41%. This slide also can show you 7 non-fatal hospitalizations for every bicycle fatality. So the death was the ultimate worst, obviously, but then how many people went to the emergency room or were injured and didn't seek medical attention. So we talk about biking defensively. I've had the pleasure of partnering with this team on some bike trainings that we've done. But we definitely talk when we do our helmet fitting station, we want to talk to the kids and parents and caregivers that bicyclists need to follow the same rules of the road, obey street signs, signals, and road markings, assume that other people don't see you, and avoid any distractions. So we know that children don't see things out of the corner of their eyes as well as adults. They have trouble telling exactly where a sound, for instance, a siren is coming from, to discern where the sound is coming from. They have trouble judging speed and distance of oncoming cars. Kids feel powerful and invincible. Imagine, think of the first time you got on your bike and got to go run the neighborhood, that sense of invincibility. They focus on things that interest them most. So while they may be focusing on what's ahead of them, there may be something interesting across the street or on the corner that they're going to focus their attention on. And children also think that the adults are looking out for them so that they don't need to, look out for themselves. Or so we always tell the kids to assume that motorists or other adults don't see them, to make sure that they're seen. So we talk about predictable riding, stopping at the ends of the driveways. We teach to look left, right, left. We want to be sure that bicyclists are riding on the right with the traffic, that ride a single file lane, ride straight, no surprises. Kids like to weave in and out of trash cans or weave up in and out of driveways. Talk to them about keeping a straight path, yield to people walking on sidewalks. Use lights if riding at night, and obeying all the traffic laws. So we talk about road safety. When you are driving a car or bicycle, always remember that driving on the road requires care and courtesy. We talk about the 3-foot law, and more of these bike lanes that are coming into Palm Beach County is wonderful. We talk about looking left, right, left before pulling into traffic or making a turn. So if I can get help from my little helpers, and I also want to introduce, we have our Safe Kids team here. We have L'Oreal, Roxana, and Solange. Brian, if you don't mind helping, I'd love to just start getting some helmets out to these folks. When you start doing bicycle events, you're going to get really good. You can eyeball ahead and you can say large, extra large. There are ways, many of the helmet manufacturers will also provide a guide where if you have a measuring tape, you can use that to measure the kid's head. But our seasoned professionals here will just get these out because I want you to have hands-on to see what we're talking about. So there's lots of reasons why to wear a helmet, and we pretty much went through those. But what do you think are some of the excuses that we hear not to wear a helmet? It's hot. What else?
Mess up my hair.
Absolutely. And your hair is so handsome, so I would not want that to happen. Mess up my hair. It's hot. What else?
I'm riding right by my house and there's no traffic.
Perfect. And that's so also thinking just I'm close to home, so I'm safe. So there's lots of reasons that we hear. Sadly, the one is that it's the toughest one to go against is it's just not cool. So whenever we have the chance to work with middle schoolers or high schoolers and get those in helmets, little kids looking up to older kids, looking up to adults. So if they see that they're wearing them, then maybe they will wear them. So this is the trick question, and I really hope you get it right. The single most effective safety device available to reduce head injury and death from wheel-related crashes is a helmet. You all are brilliant. So we do have the law, our FS 316-2665. So I think the big one is that a bicycle rider or passenger who is under 16 years of age must wear a bicycle helmet. Now we know that this isn't now when you're riding around driving over this weekend, you'll look and see how many kids you see without a helmet. So we definitely like to work with our fire rescue and our police personnel. We love working with Michael Owens at the school district and because we can work with the school police because a lot of times we'll get calls from schools of their bike riders are coming in and they notice they're not wearing helmets. So we'll plan something specific with that school to do a helmet fitting for those kids. So a few of the pieces under the law, just kind of to share with you, I think it is kind of interesting and that may not carry more persons than the number it is designed to carry. So I don't know how many times you see kids on handlebars or standing on pegs on the back of the bike. Bicycle is used between sunrise and sunset, shall be equipped with a white lamp in the front and the red lamp reflector on the rear. Yes. Adding additional lighting is permitted. So now you will also get a sense of, unfortunately, how many bike lights are not out there and how we need to do better getting these lights out. And last one I want to be sure to point out is bicyclists on a sidewalk or crosswalk shall yield to pedestrians and give an audible signal before overtaking. So, and a lot of our bike riders ride on the sidewalk. We just want to be sure that they know that they're to yield to pedestrians. How are we doing?
Good. There are some people in the audience.
Absolutely.
So if anyone's here.
Way,
let's
absolutely.
see. You're our alternate as well? Alternate,
Welcome.
also a helmet fitter.
Awesome.
So
Good. How about that?
everybody in the back
Good.
is gonna get a helmet as
Perfect.
well.
Awesome. Yes, the more helmets out, the better. And I think, Valentina, is the sign-in sheet going around? So we do have a sign-in sheet we'll pass around. Do me a favor, print your names and your emails so I can enter them in. So your certificates will have your spelling of your name correct. So now that you're not needing to do bicycle repairs, but there's 3 things that we do want to be sure that we're talking to our little bicyclists about is their air in the tires, checking their brakes, and checking the crank and the chain. Really, I think those are the biggest things. So we call that the ABCs, the air, the brakes, and the chain. So clothing consideration, we talk about wearing light, bright, or reflective clothing, tuck away any shoelaces, strings, or cords so that they don't dangle, and avoid loose or baggy clothes. So we'll look at some of these. Let's see, we'll look at some of these. So number 1, could be okay. Just would want to check that the pants are too baggy. What do you think about number 2? Bike riding in flip-flops, not really recommended. Picture number 3, you see a lovely pair of boots. 4 consideration might be, are the jeans too loose? Because that's something that could get caught in the chain. Same thing with 5, the big baggy pants. 6, I'm not sure if that's a mule or a slip-on shoe. So if that's the maybe we'd want to put on a full shoe. Barefoot, not recommended. And again, the baggy pants. So just some things to think about when you're talking with future bike riders and kids. So we talk about the hand signaling, and also we have a card that we can pass around that we use where we talk to our bike riders about how to use hand signals, audible when they're passing a pedestrian, but using your signaling for sure for motorists to know what you're thinking of doing. So that's the left turn signal. You can also, then the right turn signal is your hand up. Right, you can also point straight out. And left down is a slow or I'm stopping. So we could do kind of like with our car seat program, we could probably get out 1 million car seats, but they're only as effective as how they're used. So we can do a helmet distribution program, but if the helmet isn't fit correctly and the child's not going to wear it correctly every time, then it's not worth it. So we talk about the helmet fitting, and you have some handouts in front of you. There's one that's just a visual, a 3-step visual. So we talk about snug, level, and stable. Good. So when you're doing events, I've talked to many other coalitions and folks that do events. Some like to do the little lunch lady hairnets. If you want to have those available to do that. Again, this is not my PowerPoint, so or prayer. So there is a concern with lice. So if you're fitting a helmet and you're having to put it on several kids, you might want to consider using the hair nets. You also, when you're setting up for your event, you want to be sure you have scissors. Some of the helmets now, we just recently got a shipment of some Bell helmets, and they're zip tied. The cardboard is zip tied to the helmet. So you want to have scissors, a trash container, because you see with your helmet, there's all kinds of little baggies and stuff that are going to definitely fly away in the wind. In your helmets, you'll also see that there's typically extra pads that kind of help make that fitting just right. A table and chair, it's nice to be able to put the helmet down. If you've got a kid sitting in a chair, you can kind of fit the helmet that way. And somehow the University of Florida thinks we should also pack Tylenol. So in fitting anxiety, you want to snap before you putting it on. So you just want to be sure that you kind of have a comfortable physical situation where you can actually do the helmet fittings with the kids, whether you're standing next to them or you're going to sit, you know, across from each other, whatever's best. Writing in the helmets. One of the things we talk to parents and caregivers about is, you know, kids, if they make the helmet their own, then they'll be more invested in it. So we like to recommend they can pick out stickers they want to put on it, or you can get some paint pens, let them draw ladybugs or, you know, whatever they want on the helmets. We don't recommend that they write their names on the outsides of the helmets. Go back to your stranger danger training. And we also really don't even recommend the full name inside the helmet, because we want the kids to keep their helmets with their bikes. So we don't want somebody walking around picking up a bunch of names. So if they want to put their initials, or that's why we say stickers, or letting them decorate the outside to make it their own, is a good idea. So part of this program now being as a certified helmet fitter is that you will have access to the Ped Bike Resource Center. And it's awesome because you can order free helmets, up to 75 helmets at a time. Once you've used those helmets, there's a sign-in sheet that you would need to capture the names. And we actually just do first names. Capture the names of the kids or the adults that you fit the helmet to. You check off it's a helmet. Then when you scan that in to show that you've done an event, you've distributed 75 helmets, they'll clear you and you can order more helmets. So they do have helmets available. There's small, medium, large, and extra large. So you'll be able to do that. The other great thing about the Resource Center is that they have a pretty good resource store where you can order activity books, brochures, bookmarks, posters. And again, those are all free as well. Oh, thank you. All right. So doing less is better. This past slide would be is if you can get the parent involved. A lot of times, you know, we put the one flyer that you have that just has the 3 pictures. We'll put that in like a lucite frame at the table, and we can talk the parent or caregiver through so they can actually fit the helmet with their kids. So if parents are going out to buy helmets, what we do is to tell them to measure just above the eyebrow. They want to be sure they're looking for the correct type of helmet. There's bicycle helmet, there's skateboard helmets. So obviously we're talking more about the bike helmets. We don't recommend helmets for kids under 1 year of age. We do recommend replacing after an accident, and as the manufacturer recommends. So there should be, if you have registration cards with your helmets, send in that registration. So if there's a recall or any information the manufacturer wants to get out to you, they can get in touch with you. So helmet longevity. So according to the study, age does not affect the material properties or expand the liner in-field used bicycle helmets. We do know that the helmets, the foam in it is what absorbs the impact. But we don't recommend keeping helmets outside. We do recommend the kids, if they're pulling their bikes into the garage or the hallway or their bedrooms, is to keep the helmet with the bicycle. We tell parents don't throw it in the toy box or put it on the shelf or in the garage, because if it's separate from the bike, then it's not going to be an automatic routine. So you want to try to get young kids in that routine of, I'm grabbing my bike, so I'm grabbing my helmet. So these are the sizes that we talked about that you can order. They come in boxes about this size on this wall. So if you're ordering helmets, this is what you'll expect to get. And there's about 20 helmets per box, and they pack it to top you off at 75. So we don't recommend kids to wear their bicycle helmets when they're on playground equipment or climbing in trees. So the helmets that you guys have, just a few things. The outside we call the shell. There's inside is the padding, these cool little slits on the front. That's going to take away that one who said it's too hot. These vents are going to keep you cool. You have the chin strap and the back of the helmet. There are different types of ratchets that you'll see, but you see we have the little wheel clicking kinds. So different helmets may have a different type of ratchet in the back. Some may be like the old school snap helmets, ball caps. So some of them are a little different depending on the helmets that you're getting. So one thing we do know, and we've done this because we've done a lot of fittings in schools and just events, outreach events. You really have trouble getting an effective fit if there's beads or ponytails or large hairstyles. A lot of times in the classes, we'll ask the kids to take their hair down if it's in a ponytail. And that's the only way we can fit it. So if they have a bun or, you know, a big ponytail in the back, honestly, you can't fit the helmet. The kids will usually take it down. They'll say their mom will kill them, but we'll say that's okay because the helmet's going to save you. So I also want to share one other thing, the tip that we figured out with kids when we're doing presentations with them. So take this and use it. We always ask them, how many of you have a cell phone or a tablet? And the entire 4th, 5th grade class raises their hands. So we say, what's on your phone? I've got a protector on it. Well, why do you have a protector on it? Because I don't want my phone to break. Well, do you plan on dropping your phone? No. Do you plan on stepping on your phone? No. But accidents happen, right? So they just kind of self-identify that. So we talk about that phone cover as being like the bike helmet. You're not planning on getting in a bicycle accident, but it's just in case it does. And if you want to protect your phone, you want to protect your head and your brain even more. So little tip that works. So the first thing you want to do is you want to be sure that your helmet is snug, level, and stable, that the side strap should form a V just underneath the ear. So come on, let's do this class. So you want to do it. So you may have to adjust your V, and if any of the fitters can kind of walk around and help them out, you want to be sure that that V, so by sliding this strap, you want to be sure that you have that V just underneath your ears. And it takes a little adjusting on the right and on the left. Oh, thank you. So once you get your V in place, then you want to check the next thing is you want to be sure that you have at least 2 fingers above your eyebrows and the top of where your helmet is. That's going to help so it doesn't impede your vision. Now, when you're doing this with kids, whose 2 fingers should it be? The adults or the child's? The child's. So on this picture, kind of makes me a little crazy, but that's the adult doing it, but you would want the child. And it's, again, it's educating them that they should know how their helmet should be fitting. So you have the V, you have the 2 fingers on the forehead. Then the other thing is you would want to be sure once you have your chin strap secured that you can fit at least 2 fingers underneath that chin strap. So you want it tight enough that you can open your mouth and do a big O, not so snug that you can't open your mouth. I really hope we can take some pictures later. So this is the handout that I have with you that I gave you guys a copy of. All of these are available on Safe Kids Worldwide. We could reach out, can get copies of this for you, or you can download the PDF, safekids.org. So this is a great explanation about the eyes, the ears, and being able to open your mouth. So we talked about the different types of mechanisms for the ratcheting on the back of the helmet. Once the helmet is on, you kind of want to put your hand on each side of the helmet and just rock it side to side. So it shouldn't, so you can shake your head no as hard as possible, and the helmet shouldn't be flopping around with it. That'll help you if it's too large. That's where the little padding strips come in great play, because if it's seems like a good fit but a little shaky when they're nodding, when they're shaking left to right, then that padding can help take up some of that space. So these are the padding strips that you'll see tucked away in there. Then you want to kind of do a little just to be sure that chin strap is the right, do like just a little finger lift to be sure the helmet doesn't fall off the back of their head. That'll kind of tell you whether or not you need to tighten that chin strap or not, or if you maybe need to install some pads. Y'all look so good. Look really good. Same thing on the back. You can just do a little lift on the back. Again, you're looking for a pretty snug of a fit, but you want to be able to open your mouth and be sure that that V is underneath each ear. On your helmets, there's something, so when you were adjusting your straps, you may have noticed this little rubber band, or they call it the O-ring. So once the helmet is adjusted for the child or whoever you're fitting, you would just want to put that O-ring so it takes up any of this strapping that's flapping around. So that little O-ring just tightens everything up and keeps it neat. See it? It's like a little black rubber band. So these are kind of, I don't know if you can kind of tell, but let's look at this young lady, number 1. What do you think? Is that a good fit? No, what's wrong with it? It's definitely more than 2 fingers. She's got it propped up on the back of her head, so it's way over her eyebrows. How about this guy, number 2, which is a Cars bike helmet? So props for that. So what do you think? Think that's a good fit? That is not a good fit. What do you think? It's too big or too small? Right, definitely doesn't have the V underneath the ears, so this helmet is way too small. How about number 3? Again, I think it's kind of hard to see. But if you look closely at number 3, he's got it on backwards. And I guarantee you're going to have a kid in your class or when you're doing a fitting station that's going to do that because it's super cool. And number 4, do you think that's a good fit for her? So it looks like two fingers above the eyebrows. It looks like the V is definitely underneath her ears. Looks like the chin strap is not cutting into her. So I'd say it's a good fit. So we all need helmets that fit properly. So that's the really important thing about not just distributing, you can open up your trunk and hand out, all the helmets you want. But again, if they don't fit, then they're not going to be used properly. So a properly fitted helmet, you never know whose life you may save. So we'd really talk about no helmet, no ride. We do this all the times with our parents and caregivers. That's just part of the deal. You're going to ride a wheeled sport, then you're going to wear a helmet. So this is the bike promotion program that I was telling you a little bit before. So now you will be certified as helmet fitters. In about a week, I'll get these in this afternoon, Valentina. So in about a week, I'll get all of your certificates. I'll share them with Valentina in the email. In there will be the link that you can click to set up your account. And become, a certified helmet fitter. You can create if you want to be public or private. But in the email that you'll get hopefully by the end of next week, this link will be in there on how to set up your account. Just remember that only people who have been trained by this program can fit helmets. So if you have other volunteers there, let them help you unpackage the helmets, kind of sort the kids, do the sign-in sheet, but only certified fitters can actually, issue helmets. They must be fitted and not handed out. Have fun with the kids while you're doing it. Just really encourage them. We celebrate them every time we get a helmet on a kid. We just celebrate them, how smart they are, how good they are, how other kids are looking at them, and what great role models they are. And you want to be sure, I talked about there's a sign-in sheet for your helmets. You have to submit those back in to order more helmets. So that's it. Like the TPA, we would love for you to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, Safe Kids of Palm Beach County. We do a safety series every month, different topics. For instance, this month we're doing cleaning product safety. So talking to parents about kitchens, laundry rooms, bathrooms, wherever there may be cleaning supplies, and how to install cabinet or drawer latches. We do this in Spanish, English, and Creole to reach as many families as we can in Palm Beach County. So So I think did we get all these helmets, looks like they fit? You guys test them? Ryan, you're doing the shake test? You look really great. And I appreciate your time and your interest in doing this today. Thank you.
And I was just gonna comment, when my son was growing up, he's grown now, but when he was growing up, kind of all the moms in the neighborhood got together and just said, helmets are the rule, there is no exception. And if you're not allowed to ride with somebody without a helmet, and let me tell you, kid came out and everybody said, oh, we can't ride with you. He went back, he got his helmet. The other thing is, if you're gonna be on a bike, you're on a white shirt. And that was our rule for all the moms. Like we just said, all the moms were in on it and all the kids listened.
I grew up in a small town in New England, and one of the things they did to encourage was the police department would pull kids over with helmets on and give them a ticket to an ice cream.
No, that's like.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. My kids got a couple.
Hey, everybody, just wanted to say thank you to the Safe Kids team for coming out and getting a picture. All of you are now going to be receiving information about how to host these types of events for your own municipality. So we hope that this could be a measure for you if you're giving a bike giveaway or a community partner is giving away bikes or scooters or any other type of of mobility device. You can do this type of event and you can have yourself out there. Now you're a certified trainer. I was going to ask if we could try to get a picture before everybody heads out, because this is a nice thing to share and that you can share with your municipalities when you all return. So Melissa is going to facilitate getting us into the front of the table, I think. So if everyone could stand up, grab your helmet and come around to the front of the table.
What is it?
And I'm going to be inspecting helmets before we take the picture. So
And it got blue, I like blue. Oh, wait, are we passing you on to?
Oh, boy, this is not what I planned on.
we're not quite done yet. So please return back to your chairs.
I'll let people settle back in a little bit, but Vice Chair, I guess I should say, we do have about 20 minutes left on the meeting. If you'd like to go back to item 3A, we certainly can. Nathan is still available to present, and it's about a 10 to 15-minute presentation.
How long do they think the presentation will be?
10 to 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah, probably closer to
Okay.
10 and 15 with questions.
All right.
Should we run through it?
Mhm.
All righty, I'll pull it up. Hang on.
Okay, the fun is over. Now we're back to business. We still have a little bit left. You can continue to wear your helmets if you like. The presenter will not be throwing anything inside our heads, but you can continue to wear the helmets.
me just-
I'm gonna go back to 3A. I have been informed. They think it'll take 15 minutes to do this presentation. And this presentation is the TPA Vision 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. And I invite Nathan George, TPA LRTP Coordinator, present this item.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'll try and get through this relatively quickly so we can get you out of here on time. So I'm here to talk to you today about the Vision 2050, which is our long-range transportation plan update. Our currently adopted plan is 2045. And I invite you to take a journey with me into the future, 2050. It's kind of hard to believe we're already talking about that date halfway to 2100. And it's really hard as we're looking into the future, what are we looking forward to? What's going to happen in the transportation sector over the next 27 years? It's a big challenge to try and use that as our lens, as our vision for how we look forward. So I'm going to look back first, and I invite you to take a step back with me to 1996. The first Mission Impossible movie has just landed in theaters. Tom Cruise is still doing that today, so there's hope for us in the future. But the Volvo 850 sedan, arguably one of the safest vehicles on the road at that time. It has Generation 1 side impact airbags. This is before curtain airbags. They were released a few years later. So a lot of technology has been introduced since that time even, but this is a lot of recent innovation at that time frame. And then the Nokia 7000 communicator, one of the first smartphones that we had. It's a monochrome phone. It's got a fold out touchscreen, a fold out keyboard. Didn't even have a touchscreen with a black and white display. So this is the kind of technology we're dealing with in 1996. And fast forward 27 years later, what do we have? We've got Tesla cars that arguably almost can drive themselves. They're not quite there yet, but these vehicles have technology in them to sense the environment and adapt to it. They can adjust speed, change lanes. You can summon them with your cell phone now. So there's a lot of enhancements that we've seen in vehicular technology. We have those safe systems so that inside of a vehicle, you really can survive a crash much better than you could even 27 years ago. Imagine what that technology will look like in 2050. And then our cell phones, that Nokia 7000, that would be like taking your eyeglass case, filling it with coins and sticking it in your pocket. It's heavy, it's bulky. Our phones today are so big that's why we don't want to put them in our pocket. They have color displays that we can do work. We can actually attend a meeting on our phone. So it's amazing how this technology has influenced transportation, how it's influenced our lives. And that's the lens that we're looking through as we look into the future towards 2050. So our long-range transportation plan, I'm sure most of you are familiar, but I'll just walk through several basic principles behind this document and what it means for us. So the 2045 long-range transportation plan is what we have currently. We're working on establishing a new vision. What are our region's goals? What do we hope to be when we grow up? So what are we hoping to accomplish? We're identifying projects in this next plan, in our Vision 2050, that are going to help us get to that future that we hope to achieve. The good news is that this is a 25-year document. So we're looking ahead 25 years into the future, but we don't have this as our guidebook for that entire time frame. We update this plan every 5 years. And so as we're working through this process, we will start to solidify some of those unknowns that we were trying to discuss in the last slide. But we will have an opportunity again in 5 years as we see more certainty, as we see more understand better how technology is influencing this discussion, we'll have another opportunity to refine that vision a little bit further. All right, so what drives transportation? What are we talking about? Transportation historically has been a conversation that revolves around traffic. So that's, an I-95, a bunch of cars stuck in traffic. That's the traditional transportation planning paradigm. But as we at TPA like to do, we look into what are the options? How are alternatives? What are ways that people might travel that are not based in a car? So we have a lot of opportunity there to think differently, not just about how do people move in cars, how are they stuck in traffic, and what can we do to address traffic and that demand, but how might we alleviate some traffic demand if we provide a streetcar or an enhanced bus or shared use paths. There are a lot of different ways that we can tackle travel. I mentioned virtual. We have a lot of ways that we may not need to travel because technology allows us to be in other places from wherever we are. And land use is one of the most important areas that influence our transportation network. So, a suburban character environment may not be very conducive to some of these transportation alternatives as an urban environment would. So we have to think about how we can maybe create an environment that is conducive for whatever those improvements are. So it's important to make that acknowledgement as well. What are we talking about as we're trying to balance these sometimes competing needs is we're focused on improving quality of life. So it's important to acknowledge that as we make transportation investments, it has a direct relationship with the comfort folks have as they travel. In this case, folks walking on a path here in downtown West Palm Beach, gentleman pushing his child in a stroller, we want them to have a safe environment. So we're thinking about quality of life, safety, especially as this group is focusing on safe infrastructure. The process that we work through to develop this plan, it's a result-oriented planning process. So we're working through a lens of performance. We talked about performance measures when we met with our committees last month. Performance drives how we measure the investments that we are proposing. So we want to make sure that as we consider how we spend our dollars, that they will have a result that comes out of that investment. So that's using those performance measures to guide our decision-making. The plan itself is about identifying comprehensive needs and desires. So this is bringing together everybody from around the region, identifying what all of those goals are, putting that into a plan. And then the next step after we've identified all those needs is to establish the financial expectation. What can we reasonably fund? So it's great to have the ideas, but we also have to layer on what can we reasonably hope to achieve over that time frame, because finances are a limited resource. I want to highlight for you several factors that have either changed or will be significant influences as we look into the 2050 timeframe. The first is a change that was introduced in the bipartisan infrastructure law that they called housing linkage. So this is an opportunity where we can look at housing and transportation and how those two are related to each other, hopefully in more of a push relationship than a push-pull. So we're not being as reactive, but maybe prescribing how can the transportation network accommodate more housing? How can it accommodate more growth? So this is an opportunity for us to help start to lead the charge in directing growth a little bit with how we're making our investments that are conducive to receive some of that traffic demand, hopefully using alternatives. There's also been a very significant focus of the Biden administration on equity and justice. You may have heard about the Justice 40 initiative. It's an acknowledgement that transportation has an impact in the communities where these facilities are located. And so trying to make sure that we are looking through a lens of equity, making sure that the impacts are not detrimental to those communities, or identifying ways that we can reduce the impacts to communities is very important. So that is a point of conversation that we will elevate as we go through this process. And then how do we test the scenario planning process? So how do we look at these potential projects and weigh them? And that's part of the scenario development process. So we're looking at, principally at the 561 corridors, our transit network. We're trying to hone in, that was in the 2045 plan. So now we're trying to hone in and develop more certainty around what those recommendations are. What kind of facilities might those be? So we'll continue to evaluate and test what transit will look like in 2050 as part of this plan. And then I mentioned cars, technology, the autonomous connected and electric vehicle conversation. That's probably one of the most exciting and most challenging areas as we look to the future of transportation because there's so much unknown in this area. Will we have self-driving cars? What are we going to do about electrification? Federal government just put out guidelines on charging. So there's a lot of unknown there. It's really exciting to start to get more in depth with what that's going to mean. Wanted to highlight for you a few first steps. This is a 2-year process. I'll walk you through the schedule in a minute, but 2 first steps just to give you an idea of where we're headed initially. So the first is our goals and objectives, and that was documented in the 2045 plan. You hear us talk a lot about this sort of mission statement: safe, efficient, connected, and multimodal are 4 of our 5 goals. So that will continue to be part of this plan. We want to validate and make sure we have accurate goals, that they are driving this process and driving our investments. And then we also had this goal in the 2045 plan called preserve. And I'm hoping we can maybe shift that a little bit more to resiliency, or have a conversation around how these investments are going to achieve the outcomes we're hoping, and be responsive to things like climate change, or to the influence of aging infrastructure and making wise investments. So we have a lot of ways that we can use these goals to help shape how we make those decisions, where we will invest. So that's a first step. And then another first step is our public involvement plan. And you heard about the agency public involvement plan. This is a specific involvement plan for this plan to help us secure that input. I included a picture here of a safe walk to school day. It's my firm belief that it's very important as an agency that we go to people and not expect them to come to us. I found that in my practice to be a very successful approach. So it's really important to me that we're going to folks, meeting with them where they are. We're going to get a lot more input from the public side as we go through that process. We will also be working very closely with our agency and stakeholder partners, so the municipalities, FDOT, our transit providers. So we'll have a lot of meetings in that regard, and we're working very closely with them to help identify some of those needs that we'll be testing. Our schedule, as I mentioned, we'll be working on goals and objectives this spring, and then we'll start to work into a process of identifying projects, the needs assessment and project evaluation, which will occur later this year, towards the end of the year. Those ideas are going to then inform the testing process, modeling and scenario development. That will hopefully begin sometime around the end of this year and conclude sometime in the spring. So that 3-step process will help us develop a plan that is actionable. So we'll be looking at the available funding. What are the projects that we can hope to achieve, and start to put together that document that by regulation, we need to adopt it by December. The hope is that we'll be bringing these materials to you continually throughout the process, and then hopefully have a lot of an opportunity for folks to see the final plan before we adopt in December. For folks who are not part of that agency and stakeholder group, there's a great opportunity for you to go to our website. Heard great feedback on that. So we have an LRTP page. We're getting ready to launch an update that will capture the Vision 2050 process that we're working through. So a lot of the details that are just from this initial process are going to land on that page very soon. That'll be an opportunity for folks to sign up and hear more, and then to stay up to date. So for folks who want to be informed of this process, bookmark the page, come back frequently. I'm sure it'll be on our social media feed to help guide folks to this page, but that's where you'll find our updates when we're releasing information for folks to review. It's going to land on this page first, and then we'll of course be coming back to our committees and board to share our updates with you. And that concludes the presentation. I appreciate your time, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nathan. Staff, are there any public comments?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you. Do we have any committee members with comments? Fadi.
I just want to thank TPA and Nathan, for making the county part of the process, and I think you're doing a great job, and hopefully we can all help each other get to the right point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, staff? Or committee comments? Okay. Thank you. All right, that includes our informational items. So all we have left is informational administrative items. Items A through D are informational only. There will be no staff presentations unless requested by a committee member. Are there any public comments on these items? You have the government board summary points, February 16th, FDOT schedule and repoint.
There are no
Schedule.
public comments.
Huh?
There are no public comments.
Okay. And the next meeting is April 6th, 2023. Any staff comments? I just have a question, real quick. Again, on the bicycle ride. Last year, we just had to show up and we had told person that was here that, yeah, so we were showing up and she had a bike here for us. Are we responsible to rent our own bike or do we work through you with that?
Yes, you are responsible for bringing your own bicycle. We will not be providing bicycles to anybody. But you are more than welcome to rent the Bright Bike bicycles if you do not own a bike.
Okay, and it's up to us to rent it. Okay.
Mhm. Yes, and we will be meeting at the TPA office. The ride will be in downtown West Palm Beach, and then we'll be making our way back to the TPA. So
And it's March 31st.
March 31st. And it starts at 8 in the morning. So please get there at 7:30 in the morning so that you can all get checked in and sign all the liability forms.
Okay. Well, that's our next meeting is April 6th, 2023. Without any comments or questions, this meeting is adjourned. And I've wanted to do this my whole life.